morning. Welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space in my backyard. So today we are in the garden. A lot of people have said they missed the garden. You know what? I missed the garden too. Problem is I was sick and it was cold. So I'm making some basil tea. London Sunshine sent me an Induction cooktop. So like I'm pretty excited about it. You know, it's cold outside. It done warmed up a little bit out here now. It is what time? 11:07, and at this point the temperature has risen. I'm sure we're in the 40s, but even the 40s are cold to me. Actually, we're in the 50s. Anyway, I made some tea because like I brought it outside, and it's gonna be pretty awesome because I can leave it on a low setting today while I'm out here because I plan to get a lot done out here today. But I'm gonna take you all on a garden tour since you haven't really seen the garden. So I'm gonna take you on a garden tour. But I thought that it would be pretty cool to have this outside with me. And then the water can stay warm. It's outside. I don't have to keep going inside and taking my boots off and putting my boots back on. But also thinking about the holidays coming up, like I said, it is movable. So I can use it inside too. And so like if I have something that I need to keep warm, but I don't have space on my stove during the holidays, I could use this. So I'm thinking like I'm really gonna enjoy using this, and it couldn't have come at a better time, especially while it's cold. And so, you know, I could be outside, have my water still warm, remake my tea, you know, coffee. If you use instant coffee, you could do it. It does plug in, and it does have specific pots and pans and things that it will work with. I tried to use my glass kettle. It did not work. My glass tea kettle, it didn't work. And then I believe I tried to use a ceramic pot, also did not work. So they do tell you though what will and will not work with it. So those are the things that will and will not work. So there will be a link down below to this product if you are interested in it. I do believe there's a discount code. If there is, of course I'll put that down there too. But I think it's pretty awesome. Like I'm pretty excited about having it. It's also a really good option for holidays if you're gonna be hosting a holiday. Most stoves, I know my stove only have 4 owls. You get 2 owls. Eyes. It's eyes, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's eyes. Anyway, let's go get started on the garden tour. There's not a lot that's changed, but I figured you all might want to see it. So, if you are new here, I am an urban gardener and I grow in my backyard. I am in Virginia Zone 7B. You can see behind me, I have chickens, I have quail, and I'm homesteading in a normal urban setting. I'm out in the sun now. This hat might have to come off. We might have to go in the house and put a little wrap because I ain't done no edges. Not this early. So we're gonna go on a tour of the garden. There are things that need to be harvested, and that'll probably be in another video. That way I could get a Saturday and a Wednesday video up for the first time in like I don't know how long in the fall, because if you are new here again, I don't like the cold. And so listen, out here, you know, in this garden in the cold, I don't do it. I sat and watched my phone this morning. I watched it and I watched the temperature, and I was like, I'm not going outside till it's at least 45 degrees. So you probably also gonna start getting videos if they're outside with the sun. I do apologize, but I have to do it when it is comfortable for me. Okay, yeah, we had to take the hat off. I turned the coat off, but now I'm feeling a little chilly. So I left the coat on my body, but I turned it off, and I forgot to link it. Someone said, where's the link to the coat? So I will make sure I link the coat. My son got it for me. It's from Home Depot, and it warms up. So I still have it on, but I turned it off. I have a hoodie on. I have tights on. I got all kinds of stuff on because I don't like the cold, but I was getting way too warm with the hat on. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about my fall garden. So my fall garden, I'm growing in pretty much all the beds except for one that is like pretty much shaded all day, and I'm probably not going to grow much in it anyway. I have 10 beds in all. Some of them are raised, some of them are in ground, some of them are no dig. But how I take care of it in the fall, it's very much a small amount. It's not a lot of work in the fall. I do still water in the fall, because someone had asked me like, how often do I water in the fall? I maybe water 1 to 2 times a week in the fall, but I'm always going to do a finger test first. And I used to get mixed up with like cold soil, and for me that equaled moist soil, but it wasn't the case. It was cold, but it wasn't moist. So I do still water in the fall. I don't water as much in the winter, but if I come out here and put my finger in the soil and it is dry, or not moist, I will say, then I will water it. I do fertilize in the fall. I use fish emulsion. Fish emulsion is very high in nitrogen. The white chicken, if you're new here, I have a white chicken. She is a Americana. She is my problem child. I feel like she's about to jump up on the enclosure. She got down, but she normally jumps up on the enclosure, and she jumps into the garden. We had to get her out the other day, but she got down, thankfully. When I came out this morning, well, you saw she was up on the top ready to jump down. Anywho, I do fertilize. I use fish emulsion. It's very high in nitrogen. Most of the fall plants are leafy greens, and so nitrogen is very good for leafy greens. I do also fertilize my root vegetables, but I do a diluted amount of fish emulsion for them because they don't need as much nitrogen. What am I growing in my garden? I have cabbage, kohlrabi, broccoli, Swiss chard, kale, onions and garlic, and carrots and turnips. And I think the turnips the plants that I thought were rutabaga, they were actually turnips, and I'll show you that. My artichokes are still living. Well, the greenery of the artichokes are still living. I have pansies for a pop of color, and my ridiculously annoying flower bed. All of my bags are covered with leaves. I don't grow in the bags in the fall. And then I have a Vigo garden bed that I refilled, which I put the chicken bedding and the things that's in the run into that garden, some unfinished compost into that bed, not the garden, into the garden bed. And so that'll break down and I'll be able to use it in spring. So I think that's kind of everything as it relates to taking care of the garden. My collards and kale, I don't think I said collards. My collards and kale, I harvest that as a cut and come again. So I leave the plants all fall, all winter. They will grow slower, but they will grow, and I can harvest from them the whole fall and all of winter. I have leeks still in the garden. They are from, I don't know how long ago. I am going to start harvesting them, and everyone keeps telling me about leek and potato soup. So I'm going to make some of that. I know y'all sick of me talking. Hope it was helpful. Let's look at the garden. So one last thing that may interest you is as far as care. I water with a sprinkler right now. Broke Farmer, I watch him all the time, and he brought out his sprinkler early in fall, and I was like, you have a sprinkler? And someone did ask about getting the leaves wet. The fall plants, the cold hardy plants, it doesn't bother them to have their leaves wet. It's the spring plants where wet leaves, moist leaves in a humid area, that's where disease and, different things can grow. And so in fall, the fall plants, that doesn't bother them. I've been watering them with a sprinkler for quite some time now, and they're all doing just fine. So in the spring and the summer, in my area where we're very humid, very hot, I wouldn't recommend it. But in the fall, it is no problem watering overhead where the leaves get wet. Let's start right here. The Swiss chard is not very happy right now. And if you remember, like this one here and this one here, and one died, I moved them late in the season. And I mentioned that I didn't know if they would, survive, but I'm still gonna leave them because if the roots aren't dead, when it warms back up, you'll start to see them grow again. If the roots aren't dead. And we have the leeks here. Like I said, they've been in for a while, but they're looking pretty good. Like I said, I'm gonna harvest these and start to use them, I really want to try the leek and potato soup that everyone keeps telling me about. But those are the leeks. Then behind the leeks, we have all of these plants here are broccoli, and this one is ready to go. I can harvest that now, and I probably will. I've been watching because you don't want them to start opening. Like you see a little bit of yellow in this. I'm gonna harvest it. Because the thing with broccoli is what you're eating are really flowers that have not opened up yet. And so when they open, this is where you would get your seeds from that you can save to plant again. But if you are wanting to eat it for broccoli, you want to do it when the heads are still tight. And so you can see, I'm trying to get as close as I can, we have them, you know, they're a little bit yellowy, which means they're about to start opening, and that's not what I want. I want to eat this. There are broccoli heads on all of the plants at this point. All of the plants have broccoli heads. I'm excited about that. Got one right there. Another one there. So I planted a lot of broccoli this year because I wanted to have a lot to harvest. I'm hoping that before winter gets here that, you know, all of those are mature enough and I can go ahead and harvest them and preserve them. I said I wanted to have a lot to harvest. I meant preserve. And those aren't the only broccolis in the garden. I will show you the rest of the broccolis, but literally every plant in the garden, even the shaded ones, have a head on them, and I'm so excited. Beside the broccoli in that bed, there's cabbage. I'm not a great cabbage grower, but it does feel like it's getting a little stiff, that one. So that's a plus. This is a collard plant. There's another cabbage back here. Looking a little yellow, honestly, so we'll probably go ahead and fertilize. See, it's not as dark green as it should be, so we'll probably fertilize today. That head is doing nothing. It's also getting eaten. There's another cabbage over here, which let me see if I can get to it. And yeah, it's getting a little tight, so that's a plus. And this is a collard plant that I moved a while ago. And it's taken time to get bigger and to grow, but clearly it's still alive. There's a little bit of purpling on it. When you see purple on a plant that's not a purple variety, that is normally some type of nutrient deficiency, or it's the cold. And that plant, I'm thinking it's the cold because everything else in the bed is looking fine except for that other cabbage. But that other cabbage is also close to both ends of the bed, and so it dries out a little bit quicker. And so we're gonna go ahead and water today. We're gonna fertilize today. We're gonna do all of that. But when you are seeing purple, it could be cold or it could be a nutrient deficiency. Next bed, I always talk about my kohlrabi. These are definitely ready to go. I'm probably going to have to cut off a good amount of the outside because I imagine it's gonna start to get woody. They're huge, but we're going to harvest those when we do harvest. That's one nice kohlrabi there. Here is the other kohlrabi. I mean, they're huge. Look, they're really big. So we're gonna harvest those. We are. Behind the kohlrabi, you have, this is a collard plant that I moved, and so we're just gonna give it some time. Same thing here, that's the Swiss chard that I moved. And then we have a line of cabbage. And this cabbage looks like it's big, but it's not heading up. I'm gonna have to do some research on cabbage because I have never been good at growing cabbage. And then you have more collard plants back here, which we're gonna go ahead and harvest because those leaves are pretty big. And while I may not eat it the same day that I harvest it, collards and kale are so easy to preserve. Same thing with cabbage, honestly, because you can cook cabbage and freeze it. So yeah, all of the things in the fall garden are easy to preserve, quick to preserve, in my opinion. And so we have more broccoli. That's a broccoli head there. Broccoli head in there. Broccoli head in there. So 100% excited about the broccoli. Broccoli to me has been very easy to grow. So much easier than cabbage. I have grown maybe 2 cabbages my whole entire time gardening, and they weren't amazing. And behind those broccoli, you have that pretty kale that everyone's asking me the variety of. And I'm gonna have to be honest, I really don't know the variety. Like if you're not new here, you know that I started my fall garden from starts this year because I did miserably starting seeds. Not that I don't know how, it was that I did not take care of them as I should, and they all end up dying. So if I can find the tag somewhere, because there's some more over in another bed, if I can find the tag, then I'll absolutely tell you what this variety is. And if I end up stopping by the local feed and seed store that I got it from, I'll ask them if they know what the purple variety was that they were selling this year, because I don't know. And so over in this next bed, you have some more cabbage. See, I can't grow it. It don't stop me from planting it. And then you have more kohlrabi that's starting to bulb up over here. And this is a very shaded bed, but it's growing, just growing slower. And then there's some Swiss chard in here as well. I love to eat Swiss chard in like ramen. And when I say ramen, I mean oodles and noodles that I fix up. But yeah, I put some meat in some oodles and noodles and some greens and some different seasonings, and it is delicious. And so that's how I eat my Swiss chard most of the time, in a good ramen. It's delicious. On the other side of that bed, we have more broccoli, and there is a head in there. Y'all see it? Yay! And there's another one there. Woohoo! One in there and one in there. Like super excited. I don't even know how many plants that is, but I'm super excited just to know that eventually this year I'm gonna have all of this broccoli to preserve and to eat fresh, depending on the day. Right in front of that broccoli that I just showed you, there are more collard plants, growing a little bit slower, but they look good. There's a little bit of yellowing on it, but like I said, I need to fertilize out here. I have not done that in quite some time. And then we're right back here to some more Swiss chard and more kohlrabi over here. You got the compost pile, y'all. I don't know why I cannot give myself the motivation. These bags need to be put in here. I need to dig down in the middle, put this stuff down in there. Cleaned out the quail tote a little, well, maybe a week or so ago. So we got some of the quail bedding in there. There's grass over there in those bags that need to go in here. But for some reason, I cannot find my motivation for that compost pile. I don't know why. I need to though, because spring will be here before I know it. And I'll be at somebody's store buying compost for no reason at all. And like I said, all of the bags are covered with leaves. Like literally all of the bags are covered with leaves. In the fall, I will come back. I will amend them just like I amend the beds. And that's how we'll start to grow in the bags again. I said for fall. I think I meant for spring. When spring comes around, then we'll go ahead and amend these bags with like a granulated fertilizer that's, you know, like slow release. We'll probably maybe bone meal and blood meal. It depends. I didn't use a lot of additives this spring. Like I didn't use a lot of additives. I didn't use a lot of different fertilizers. I kept it basic, and my spring garden was pretty awesome. I didn't want to keep spending all that money. And honestly, because I'm not gonna get my soil tested, I was adding things not even knowing if it needed it. So I kind of kept it basic to an all-purpose granulated fertilizer that released over time. Fish emulsion, I used fish emulsion. I did use bone meal in some places like root vegetables, potatoes, things like that. The things I know they need, but I'm really just trying to not, you know, use so much stuff, not even knowing if that's what my garden needs. And so this is the bed. Well, that's the Vigo garden bed I told you I wasn't using because I'm amending it essentially. This is the other bed that's like pretty much shaded all day, so I don't see the point of trying to grow something in it. The chicken, like I said, got out the other day. She scratched everything up. I do need to cover it because I want the soil to stay covered. I need to put it back, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And so one thing you need to know for a fall garden is your sun is not the same as the spring and the summer. The sun is way higher in the sky in the summer than it is in the fall and in the winter. So when you're deciding to plant, kind of pay attention to where the sun is, because that bed in the summer gets a good amount of sun. Like, I can grow things in that bed in the summer. I can't grow in that in the fall. And that's fine. So over here, we have mint, which I'm probably going to cover with a little more leaves because this stuff is probably going to die out soon when it gets too cold. But everything over here in this section is perennial. It will come back, but I still want to cut it down. So like right here, this is huge. This is a blueberry bush, so I won't be doing anything with that right now. I'll do it in the spring. But I want to cut all of this stuff down and then get some leaves over it like I've done the bags until spring comes. Then over here you have the garlic that has sprouted and is coming up. And so the last time I mentioned the garlic, I was saying like it already came up and people was like, is that a bad thing? So it's not a bad thing. I didn't have great success last year because I think I planted them too early, and I personally didn't want them to start sprouting until it warmed up again, because I'm thinking, and when I say I didn't have good success, I didn't have success in a way that I would have been able to store them, but I absolutely made garlic powder and I'm still using that, but I would like some for fresh eating, and so mine had started to separate when I went to harvest them, and so that was something I wouldn't be able to store. So no, it is not a bad thing if your garlic has already started sprouting. This is me trying to test in my area, in which I think I really need to plant them. I'm gonna say like end of November, early December, and that's what I'm gonna try next year. But it is not a bad thing if your garlic already started sprouting. And so in the middle bed, if you remember, we transplanted some lettuce. It doesn't look good. It looks very stunted, but we're still gonna leave it. Also, when the chicken got out, she dug that area up, and I was like, come on, girl. So it's okay. We have other lettuce over here, and that's where that lettuce came from, because this lettuce was being shaded by these plants. And so I was just trying to move them. It was a little late, but we're still gonna leave it and see what happens, because just like I said with the Swiss chard, if the roots aren't dead, they will start to grow again, as long as the whole plant, roots and all, don't die. And so right beside the lettuce is another collard that I had moved kind of late, and you can see that it's purpling. I honestly think it's mostly because of the cold that my immature plants, like this one as well, is one that I moved. I think that's why it's purpling. And so here, I think I was telling y'all they were rutabaga. Those are turnips. Those are purple top turnips. And that's one we could harvest and eat. So those are the few turnips that we had. We have carrots right here. And I started these from seeds in the bed. Pretty excited that that worked out for me. And this whole row is carrots. It's a little cold, like I said. It's kind of cold, so we are leaving those as well, because carrots can stay alive over the cold period, and they can stay in the ground too. Once the ground freezes, it'll be hard for you to get them out, but carrots that have had a frost are sweeter. That's what they say. Carrots is not my thing, so I can't say it from experience, but I can say that that's what all of the research says. So right beside the carrots are some collards that I had planted out late or moved late, which is fine. And then we have a turnip. Look at that. Needs to be harvested. That's a turnip right there. Hope you can see it. It's a white turnip, and it definitely needs to be harvested. And these, I did not get them thinned out early enough, so they all became very leggy. I don't know how many turnips I'll actually get, but that's fine. Like I said, for me, gardening is like a fun thing to do. I'm excited when I grow something. I'm excited to see the greenery. And turnips, you can eat the greens off of them. So even if you don't get the bulb, turnip greens they're edible. And right beside the turnips are more collards that I had moved. So I learned that you know, I probably want to get my radishes in a little bit earlier because I don't eat them raw anyway. So if they are like super spicy, I wouldn't know because I roast them in the oven. And so that takes out the anise taste anyway. So yeah, I'm probably gonna plant my radishes earlier so I can get them out of the bed earlier, and anything that I want to replace them with, because radishes are very quick growing vegetables, anything I want to replace them with, I can get them in a little bit earlier too. And then we have another bed here. This is a cabbage collard, and someone was like, I never heard of it. Me either. Got it from my local feed. That's another cabbage collard. Then you have collards down here and some kale as well. So that's all doing good. Again, everything is looking wild because it needs to be harvested. The larger leaves definitely need to be harvested. I found that larger leaves of some plants don't do super well when you get a hard freeze, and we've been down into the 20s already in December. That's normally a January or February thing for us. And so I've learned that, I've noticed that. So like I said, I was sick, and so everything that's out here is just, it was just out here, but it did just fine. It is the strawberry bed, which, you know, we went ahead and thinned these out. I'll probably get some leaves and put them over it. I'm not gonna cut them down or anything. I'm just gonna throw some leaves over top of it. And then here you have another bed. This is that broccoli that we moved, very stunted. And then you have collards and kale and collards and kale. So that is the garden tour. You can see the orchard behind me, which ain't looking like much because it's fall. Everything is kind of dying out. All of the herbs are still, you know, living and alive over there. But it's that time of year. That stuff is dying out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram, where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.